A trade bringing Kevin Durant to this Miami Heat organization is imminent after a brand new report suggests not only are the Miami Heat in the best position to go out and acquire Durant via the assets they maintain, but also they're just in the best position going forward if they do acquire Durant. I'm here to break down a brand new article that suggests all of that on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, please, before we get to the news and information, do remember to scroll down and click the subscribe button if you're a part of the near 80% watching this video not currently subscribed to the channel. We do appreciate the love and support, so thank you guys for everything. But now let's get to it and break down a waiting game for Durant. And you'll understand why I phrased it in this way once we get into really the thick of this video. And we're going to start with this tweet from Brett Siegel that goes on to break down a bunch of news surrounding Kevin Durant, and not specifically just with the Miami Heat, but all possible suitors, and why this Miami Heat organization is not only in the best position to acquire Durant, but why Durant would want to come to Miami the absolute most. Now, we're going to break down a few major quotes from this article as Brett went on to go through all of the major, really key pieces that could be a landing spot for Durant in Minnesota, obviously New York, Toronto, the list goes on, and how Miami, again, is they have the most assets, the most reliable assets they could move, as well as just being in the best position to go on and win after they acquire Kevin Durant. Now, Brett would go on to point out a few very interesting facts, and the first one is this. The Phoenix Suns are desperate. Now, they're not as desperate as they may appear during the regular season this past year at the trade deadline, where they were trying to make a move at the buzzer before that 3 p.m. deadline did go off for the NBA, where they could no longer make any more transactions in the form of trades from team to team or organization to organization. Now they're in the offseason, and now the timer is a lot longer in duration, and teams are going to have really all offseason long to make this move for Kevin Durant. But again, it doesn't feel like this is something that's going to take the entirety of the offseason because of the amount of teams that are in on Durant and the trade packages we've been told about that have already been sent to Phoenix in hopes that they will bite the bait early and give up Durant for less than what they are hoping for. And that is what Brett goes on to allude here, as he goes on to say whether or not a deal involving Durant is completed over the next several days revolves around two factors: teams meeting Phoenix's demands and the same teams calling the Suns bluff due to their desperate position. The Suns don't necessarily have to trade Durant in the coming days, but it's become clear this marriage has gone stale. Durant wants to go to a new team, and all 5 organizations outlined above are interested in trading for him to an extent. And that is a very key piece in this, because what is that trade package actually going to have to resemble for Phoenix to pull the trigger and get rid of someone in Kevin Durant who we know is very, very accomplished, not only in this past regular season, but throughout the entirety of his career. Multiple time scoring champion, multiple time MVP. This guy has been dominant in the entirety of his career throughout and against all and any all-comers. So that is why this is so big. Durant being one of the biggest fish available this offseason, whether it be via free agency or via trade like we're witnessing now, the Miami Heat are all in. And this is the 3rd time Durant has been in connections to this Miami Heat organization. And this one really feels like there's a substantial chance Durant ends up in Miami before the NBA draft, which would, again, be in the next week or so, as I believe the draft is in 2 weeks or just over 2 weeks away. So things are going to be expedited. At least it's going to feel like on the outside looking in, things are going to be expedited just a bit, as it seems like the Suns want to get this move done before the NBA draft, as based off reports that we've broken down on this channel in the past. But now to the rest of this Brett Siegel article, as now he's going to go through each and every team that he mentioned earlier in that quote we just read. Although rumors stating that the New York Knicks were also pursuing Durant existed, no major discussions were held since the trade deadline. The same can be said of the Memphis Grizzlies, who are not actively pursuing Durant and do not intend to enter the sweepstakes after trading for Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic, multiple sources confirmed. So 2 major outliers in this equation that haven't been getting a lot of conversation over the last few weeks because they're not Minnesota, Miami, Toronto, or the Houston Rockets, or these big names that are really making a push at Kevin Durant. But these 2 teams were involved in the Durant sweepstakes, at least at the NBA trade deadline. And now that they're in the offseason and they have to really just rebuild, in the sense that obviously the New York Knicks got bounced early. They don't have enough players to play enough minutes. Head coach is gone. Tibbs is gone. Memphis Grizzlies just got rid of Bane for a king's ransom. It doesn't look like they're looking to move all of the assets they just got in return for Bane from the Orlando Magic for Durant. So it looks like both of these teams are going to be out on Durant, at least for the time going forward. And then there's Minnesota. Minnesota's very interesting. They have Anthony Edwards, a young piece, but they also have a lot of other pieces that could be key contributors not only on their franchise, but for other organizations like the Phoenix Suns. It just comes down to what is that package going to look like, and does Durant really want to go to Minnesota? Based off of previous reports, it doesn't seem that way, but again, the Phoenix Suns are not entitled to move Kevin Durant to a team of his choosing. They can be nice, take it into consideration, and be respectable in that sense, but by no way do they have to trade him to the exact destination in which he wants. We just saw that on a first-hand basis with this Miami Heat organization at this previous NBA trade deadline, where Jimmy Butler was hell-bent on getting his way out of Miami and to the Phoenix Suns in particular. Now, obviously, that did not happen, and things have gone on since then, and now it seems like the Miami Heat may be in a position to move some of the assets they got in return from the Jimmy Butler trade for Kevin Durant. But now to the Minnesota conversation, as it will be quick and brief, but again, Brett goes on to say, Minnesota has made it clear that Jaden McDaniels is not going anywhere, which means the package would have to include either Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle. The other assets league sources continue to speculate about regarding the Wolves package are Dante DiVincenzo, Rob Dillingham, and the 17th overall pick in the draft. While there was some unconfirmed chatter about Anthony Edwards potentially recruiting Durant, his idol, to Minnesota, those decisive rumors were shot down by Mark J. Spears of ESPN's Anscape. Other rumors around the league suggest that Durant doesn't want to go to Minnesota, because he wouldn't extend their contract, which has led to a sense of I can't read it because of a sense of hesitance from the team to make a trade for the All-Star. So it seems like that may be a possibility where Durant does not want to end up in Minnesota because of the contract extension he will not receive from them. And we all know Durant is going into a contract year. He will be an unrestricted agent following this up-and-coming season. Again, he will be in his age 37 year as well. So it makes sense why the Minnesota Timberwolves, with Anthony Edwards and the younger core they do maintain, as well as a good complementary amount of role players, they may not want to devote all that money to an aging all-star in Kevin Durant when they have a younger version of him in Anthony Edwards with a lot of money going towards him, as it rightfully should. Also, Rob Dillingham, really didn't get to see a lot of him this past year as he's been on and off with injuries, but he was phenomenal in college. He was highly touted coming into the NBA draft. Minnesota ended up trading up for Dillingham to get him, and it seemed like a major steal when it happened. It just hasn't actually fully developed to make a full circle here yet because, again, Dillingham has not been as active as everyone was hoping for. Now, to move on to another major threat, in my opinion, the biggest threat to acquire Kevin Durant instead of this Miami Heat organization. Now, I'm not going to say they have a better chance, but I'm just saying I think they're up there with the Heat in the sense of abilities to go out and acquire him because of the ample amount of young assets they do maintain, not only in the sense of draft capital, but young player assets that they have, and that is the Houston Rockets. As Brett would go on to say, the Rockets are viewed as a prime destination and one of the finalists for Durant, sources said. Durant has a strong relationship with head coach Ime Udoka, who just signed a contract extension with the team that makes him one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA, and Houston offers a clear path to the contend for a championship in the Western Conference. If Durant is added to that team, quickly, this is not Brett's quotes here, this is my opinion. If Durant is added to the Houston Rockets and they don't have to give up a king's ransom and they can get away with they can get away with Phoenix biting the hook early and they can acquire Durant for a lack of assets, I think this is 100% accurate. I think they are a competitor in the Western Conference, especially with the young core they've maintained. But again, we don't know exactly what that trade package is going to look like in return to Phoenix, and that could completely derail their championship aspirations and chances if they do not maintain enough of those assets in exchange for Durant. Now, Brett would then go on to say, Jalen Green and the 10th pick in this year's draft present a clear opportunity for the Rockets to swing a deal, but the Suns have demanded more, sources said. Jabari Smith Jr., Terry Earson, and Reed Shepard are among the young talents in Houston that Phoenix has expressed interest in. The Rockets are not willing to part with any of the three to this point. So another team with assets that the Suns desperately want, But again, the organization is not willing to give up all of these assets in order to make the Suns happy and for them to reset their franchise to at least some extent. Now, on to the biggest quote out of all of them. Now, this is it. And this is with the Eastern Conference, and specifically the Miami Heat. As Brett would go on to say, even though the Raptors offer of either RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly alongside potential Jacob Petel and the draft picks is enticing, it is the Heat that league personnel are signaling as the team with a better chance at a deal, although the two sides are not right at the finish line yet. In trade talks, one player can get them there. That would be Kellan Ware, a rookie standout in a Miami front court who is a giant and has a 7-foot wingspan and two-way potential. If the Heat include Ware in a revamped package to what they have already offered, talks with the Suns will reach a whole new level as he is the player Phoenix wants in discussions with Miami. This is why many around the league who spoke with Clutch Points view the Heat as the team that can get over the finish line the easiest. So it seems like whatever package is being presented to the Phoenix Suns from this Miami Heat team are good. They're just not at just quite there yet, and Kellan Ware will be really the bump they need in order to get this trade package done. To this point in negotiations, the Heat have not firmly offered Ware in a proposed package, sources told Clutch Points. If Pat Riley and the front office don't push more chips in to get Durant, a player Riley has wanted to bring into South Beach for years, they will be out, and the Suns will further their talks with other teams interested, like the Houston Rockets and others. The framework of a potential Suns Heat trade involving Durant would see Andrew Wiggins and Ware headlining the outgoing assets for Miami. Whatever happens, the Suns have signaled that they want to move out of the tax aprons altogether, which is why multiple teams will be involved to help take on unwanted salary. So it's going to be a multiple team trade regardless of whoever trades for Kevin Durant in order so the Suns can move under that first or second apron with the luxury cap and not have to have really the NBA up their neck about how they're doing their spending. The question is, how is this going to result in the Miami Heat roster and how is it going to translate? Well, if Wiggins goes, that's going to be $28 million for this up-and-coming season, as well as a 30-year player option in the 2026 as well as 2027 season. We can assume players, again, Kellan Ware, if he were to be a part of that, for only $4 million owed to him next year. Jaquez, again, $3.8 million next year, someone else we could see in the trade packages, as well as possibly Jovic, another $4.4 million, because all three of those guys most recently listed are on their rookie deals. So the Heat would not be giving up a lot of money in the sense of cap space. But if you look later down the line, the following year in 2026, 2027, there's basically no one on the books outside of those rookies and Andrew Wiggins. So it would be very interesting for this Miami Heat team if they were to make these trades. Not only would they have $30 million in cap space going into next season before these trades, but I think it would even be greater following that because of the differences between Durant's contract, lonesome, as well as the ample amount of contracts that would be sent out from Miami in this trade. It's going to be very interesting. Now, I don't want to give up Kellan Ware. I really don't. I really don't. He is a young stud. He has showed so much capability in just 1 year of playing time for this Miami Heat organization. The ability to allow Bam to move to the power forward and let him play the 5, stretch out the defense as much as you can while still being effective and efficient is very important. And I don't know if Pat Riley is going to actually do it and take the bait and add Kellan Ware early in this trade package to get it done. I think he's going to play a bit of the long game, and he's going to allow Phoenix to sit on this trade package and on these ideas and allow other teams not to outbid the Miami Heat and allow the Heat to steal Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns while the Suns take the bait and be desperate and still come up short. Let me know down below what you guys think about this entire situation. Would you or would you not add Kellan Ware to trade talks involving Kevin Durant based off of the idea of how many players they are already giving up? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.